And it's not necessarily about who you bring in. It's about who you connect to, which is yourself.
Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I hope this Monday finds you really well and you're looking forward to a beautiful week ahead. As you may be going through a transition in your career or life, do you feel like something's holding you back from being your authentic self? What if you could finally stop the old patterns of thinking and begin to love yourself, no matter what? Today's podcast episode will help you do just that. I speak with the wonderful Junie Moon, and we discuss the impact of self-love and self-worth. If you're struggling with self-doubt or feeling stuck from moving forward in your career and life, then this episode is for you. In this episode, we will discover how you can heal and transform old beliefs that sabotage your happiness, learn practical steps to build profound self-love and confidence that will empower every aspect of your life, and uncover the path to attracting healthier and more fulfilling relationships by becoming your own soulmate first. So hit play now to learn how you can love yourself unapologetically. And don't forget to stay till the end for the key takeaways. Welcome, everyone, to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and my next guest will empower you to realize the importance of self-love without apology. I'm pleased to welcome to the show, Junie Moon. Junie is a CEO of the Midlife Love Out Loud. She's a global love mentor, a best-selling author, a women's empowerment leader, and a certified shadow work coach. And Junie has supported thousands of women over the past 30 years to claim what is their birthright, which is the freedom to be and love themselves without apology. Junie is dedicated to guiding women in midlife on a transformative journey towards self-discovery and empowerment.
I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, Junie, I'd love to just kind of start out because this podcast is called the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. So, can you just please share with our audience how you came into this work of being a women's empowerment leader and a love coach, and what kind of circumstances led you to in your life led you to here? Like, so, in short, I guess, what's your reinvention story?
Yeah. And actually, there were different chapters. As you asked that question, and I think about my life, there were pivotal moments and different things in my life that led me in different directions. And I'll just say for everybody, it's like we have this unfolding and these experiences that impact us. And so I've had different experiences that really had me wake up. And then wake up again, and then wake up again, and then kind of go, okay, where am I now? And what do I want to create for my life now? So when I think about it, I think I know I've reinvented myself many times, as my bio kind of said. It's like, oh, okay, now I'll do this and then I'll do that. But to your question specifically, I started the women's empowerment work 30 years ago. And I was an actress for the first 26 years of my life. I'm still an actress, but I was like pursuing it. That was my life. Everything was about acting. And then I woke up. That was my first like moment where I just kind of hit a dark time in my life. I was in
Mm-hmm.
my late 20s and I felt something was missing. And I'll keep this short because the big awakening was definitely the midlife reinvention. However, this led me on the path to get to where I am, which was I realized I was getting in my own way. I was not living in alignment with my soul's desire, so to speak. I was coming from a lot of ego and acting and let me be special. And it wasn't working. And I found a very different path and I went into the healing arts. And that led me to deep personal growth work. And I was doing fine. I thought my life was great. And in a lot of aspects, it was. I was having a great life. And I'm thankful for all the different things I experienced in my 20s and 30s, even 40s. However, I was in a 20-year marriage and I had a pattern. I had a pattern of pushing down my voice, afraid of asking for my needs to be met, walking on eggshells, afraid to rock the boat. And this is such a common story I hear from women. And culturally, that's supported. Be a good little girl, fit
Mm-hmm.
in, don't make waves, all that stuff. Or you're a bitch, or you're too much, or all those things.
Yeah.
And so I bumped up against that in a big way with my husband, who we did not make it. However, during our marriage, it was painful. It was challenging. We had a hard kid and I ate a lot of food to manage it. I was 200 pounds in a 5'3" body. I suffered
Mm.
terribly. And I hit rock bottom and I found a body of work called shadow work after reading so many books, after doing so many workshops and being in empowerment workshops. But I wasn't shifting. Even with great therapy, I wasn't healing at the level that I needed and desired. And then when I found shadow work, which was about 2006, wow, 2006, it's been a while, everything changed. And I
Mm.
found my voice. I found my confidence. I found my boundaries. I found myself. And the biggest thing is I found how to love myself so deeply. And that's where the story really began for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow, amazing. I think it's so, as I interview more and more women and I coach more and more women, the stage where you realize that something is missing and it's like a trigger that's like, okay, let's dig deeper into that. It's so common. And if people listening are experiencing that, just to know that it is common, like both you, Judy, and I have both experienced that. And that can lead to big exploration. And I think that's what you had said, that the more and more you dug deep, you realized that you were getting in your own way. And so that's really, so I guess it begs the question then is what is shadow work? Like you were a shadow work coach. It seemed like that changed your life. Can you
Totally.
can you please explain what it is and what are love shadows, just so that we can understand a little bit more about
Absolutely.
that?
It's just amazing. I will just add to what you said, which is, yeah, we have these moments and we feel like something's missing. It is a common thing. And if we listen, if we allow ourselves to have the space to
Hmm.
really kind of go, whoa, this isn't working for me, because this is going to tie to the shadow work. It's like something doesn't feel right. I'm not happy. I'm doing things that aren't like they're sabotaging my dreams. I'm not going for the career I want. Or for me, my specialty is working with single women in the second half of love to really find a partner. Why are they finding the same partner over and over? Why are they doing the same things over and over? Like, what is that about? And when we can really kind of go, oh, wait a second, this isn't working. I'm not feeling good about where I'm at. And we can just give ourselves permission to really ask the big questions. Then we have the opportunity, which is beautiful. I mean, these are stones in kind of a still pond, so to speak. We go. Everything seems fine, the still pond. And then we
Hmm.
wake up one day or something happens and we're like, I'm not in the place I want to be. And if we could allow the ripple and allow ourselves to drop in, we can open up to seeing what the shadow is. So, what is
Hmm.
the shadow? The shadow is a Jungian term, which is the part of us that we feel badly about, the part of us that we want to hide, the part of us that we have shame around. It's the part of us, our personality or the way we are, that we say to ourselves on some level, I better not be like that. I better not show up like this. I better not embrace all of who I am. Otherwise, I might get left. I might get hurt. I might have pain. I might feel abandoned. I might disappoint people. So the shadow is the part of us that we've disowned. And why did we do this? Where did these shadows come from? And we all have them. We all have these blind spots. We all have these aspects of ourselves that we're like, ooh, I really don't want to like share that part because it's ugly. And what will people think? We all have that to some extent because of our conditioning. We have been conditioned to hide some parts of us because we're afraid we're going to get hurt. So that's what the shadow is.
Okay. And is the work to shine a light on the shadow?
Yes, yes, yes. And so, yeah, let's talk about shadow work. And you actually asked what the love shadows are. So, yeah, so let's dive into that. So,
yeah,
we are
just
born.
Briefly. I mean, you don't have to give the whole thing away, but just
yeah. No, all good. Okay, briefly, life happens. Life happens, and well-meaning parents and our religion and our culture and the kids and and teachers. We are sponges as a kid, and we are learning how to fit in, because we need to survive. It's our survival instincts. And we lay down a lot of beliefs around what safety looks like, what love looks like, and how to be in this world. Because again, we're wired for survival. And so we get conditioned with these beliefs. And that conditioning is in the 95% of our brain, the unconscious part of our brain. And so if 95% of our brain is unconscious, and that's what's running in the background, you can see why, if you want love and you're like, I want to bring in a partner and I'm so ready for that partner. But if 95% of your brain is kind of going, you suck at relationships, your parents didn't have a good relationship, you're just going to get hurt. And you don't know that that's going on in the background. How are you going to feel? How are you going to show up? How are you going to be? And that's why we need to do the shadow work. What is in that 95% of what we're believing about love and relationship and life that's tripping us up? And then it goes in different directions with different types of shadows that impact our ability to really have a magnificent second half.
Yeah, it's similar to, I guess, what I talk about as blocks. So those are the blocks that are preventing us from moving forward, and they're also blocking the energy, the positive energy, from allowing us to move forward or see the potential ahead of us. And like the inner critic or the voice inside that keeps on telling us, and where's that coming from? It's only allowing us, it's only there because it wants to keep us safe, right? And
Exactly.
so yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's a part inside of us that in shadow work, we call it the risk manager. And this is a part inside of us, because we talk in parts. There's a part of us that wants this. There's a part of us that doesn't want that. There's a part of us that's scared. Well, there's a part that's always assessing risk. Is it safe to open up our mouth? Is it safe to put ourselves online? Is it safe to dream? So, and one of the biggest tools that the risk manager has is the inner critic, because that's the quickest way to have you not move forward and block you, is to have you feel like you can't.
Yes. Interesting. That sounds really enlightening to get into that. So you talked a little bit earlier about like the shadow being those things that we don't want to be revealed, or the things that we want to hide. And I understand that in your past you had produced and starred in a film called The Shed the Shame. And in that movie, you actually posed naked to be painted by a world famous body painter. So I would imagine that experience taught you a lot, and maybe share that, and what kind of lessons did that experience you can impart for other women listening who are going, wow, that's pretty brave, or whatever.
That's the word everybody says. Everybody says, wow, you were really brave, because I'm not this tiny athletic, the way that we've been taught like what beauty is. That's not what my body looks like. So for me to literally have gotten naked and body painted and let the whole world see that, it was huge. And when people ask me how was the experience of doing that, it's interesting because it wasn't necessarily the experience of doing the film that was the biggest impact. It was moving toward doing the film, like, can I really do this? And then it was releasing the film. Can I really do this? So, yeah. So leading up to this moment of I'm going to get naked and body painted, like I said, I was 200 pounds. And yet I didn't mention that in the film because it had nothing to do with weight. My whole life, as most women have experienced, I never felt comfortable in my body. I was afraid to be seen. I was afraid to be naked. Putting a bathing suit on was devastating. I
Yeah.
mean, I had so many comments from men, from boys about my jiggly thighs, or if you only lost some extra weight, you'd be so much prettier. I mean, we hear all this stuff all the time. We're bombarded by the media. So I really suffered like many women in our culture, no matter what size I was. That's why I didn't mention my size in the film, because
Right.
whether I was 200 pounds or 140 pounds, it didn't matter. I didn't want to be seen. And so I had, before I did my podcast, I had a live stream show called Life Out Loud with Junie Moon. And I had an opportunity to interview this body painter that was very well known. And I said, hey, why don't you paint me? And we'll do it on video live. And he said, yes. And then I went, oh,
Uh-oh.
shit, what did I just do?
Yeah.
and then I was like, I need to sit with this. So this was the piece. And so everything I'm about to share is a metaphor for anything in anyone's life that you might be bumping up against, because this is not about, okay, everybody go get naked and body painted. This is
Right.
a metaphor. So there was something I was about to do, and I had to go, am I safe? What is the upside of doing this? What is the downside of doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And is it worth it? Is this something I really feel like I'm going to do? And
Mm-hmm.
so I took a month and I really sat with it. And ultimately, there was such a little part of me that was like, oh, what will people think? And most of it was, there's a story here. There is a story of, I don't want to go to a pool party. I don't want to leave the house. I have nothing to wear, to I can get naked and body painted. Oh my God, something has changed. Something has healed. The shadow work, the ability to see that there's absolutely nothing wrong with me, that I am beautiful inside and out, that I didn't have to be so careful and I could love myself no matter what. When I realized that I could get naked and body painted and then videotape it, I knew that there was a big message here. So I
Mm-hmm.
hired a videographer and we did a documentary. And I talked about the conditioning. I talked about all the beliefs I took on about body image and body shame. And I showed everything and everyone being naked and dancing around in my backyard. But I talked about the journey to that point.
Yes.
And then I had to also, the other piece of it was the releasing of it to the world. And I swear to you, my finger hovered over the button on YouTube to let it out. And I knew that there would be potential comments, of which, by the way, of the tens of thousands of people that have seen my film, I only had one comment on Facebook of a guy that said she should have kept her clothes on. And then everybody zoomed in and said, you obviously missed the point. And everyone came to my rescue. But it was interesting because I
Interesting.
didn't skip a beat. The impact was amazing. And so, yeah, it was, I just wanted to say one more thing. It went to film festivals and I'd be sitting in an audience.
Oh my
Could you
God.
imagine on a big
Oh, I
screen,
couldn't.
huge screen, and I'm naked? And it was the best thing I've ever done. And so it's a
Amazing.
metaphor that change can happen, healing can happen, and we must shine a light on the beliefs that hold us back. Otherwise, we are stuck.
Hmm. I love that. I love the fact that you were I mean, yes, I would say it was courageous to do that for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Yes, I
yeah,
agree. I agree.
yeah. Especially the film festival part. I never thought of that. I go, oh, wow, okay. That would that would be tough. But I also love that metaphor because when you were talking about that metaphor, it just came to mind like how this can be applied to different circumstances. Like, for example, for me, when I was in the corporate world, there was that shadow. There was something there that was missing, right? But it took me 3 years to actually leave because of all these thoughts. Like, what are people going to think? What's going to happen? What am I good enough to do this? All these things. So that I know it's a completely different scenario, but what you said, it's
The
a
same thing.
metaphor for it's the same thing. Is like then when you do it, then you're like, yeah, yeah, man, I did that, and I
Mhm.
could, and that's I think the key is that whatever you're facing, whatever you're feeling stuck with, dig deep and say, what is it that's stopping you, right? And
And I just
that's
want
what.
to add in there that, okay, the risk manager thinks very black and white. And that part is thinking you're going to jump off a cliff and everything's going to go to hell. And that's
Mhm,
why it doesn't allow us to move forward sometimes. And so when we are bumping up against some challenge, to realize that we can take baby steps. I did not just jump into getting naked and body painted. It was a journey to get there,
yes.
doing the inner work, loving myself, different pieces to the puzzle to get me to that place. So, whatever people are struggling with, they need to give themselves that gentle, compassionate
Mhm.
understanding that there's something to look at. There's some fear there. And is it rational? Is it actually accurate? Or is it an old fear that really doesn't fit the circumstances that are here? Or maybe it does to some extent, and then you might do something differently. So it's an opportunity to kind of go, okay, let's slowly look at this. And then the risk manager can go, okay, she's not going to do anything rash.
Right,
So
right.
let's give her some space here. But the thing is that this is so unconscious. And so when people come to me to work with me and they're terrified of trying to do things or they're so blocked and they can't see,
Mhm.
we work with that risk manager. So that part inside of you is like, oh, wait a second. I see this now. I can make some changes. I can take some steps. And that's where the magic happens.
Yes. That's true. It doesn't have to be like all or nothing. It's not like, oh my God, I just jump with both feet in. Like you
Yeah.
can you take baby steps. So
Yeah, it's scary to
wonderful.
jump off a friggin' cliff if you don't know
Yeah,
what's underneath. So you might need a rope, you might need a harness, you might need
yeah,
some
exactly.
support.
Yeah. It reminds me when I went ziplining for the first time, I was terrified and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm up here and I can't go down. I have to get down this. And I did it. I was like, well,
Ooh.
that was fun.
Right? And that's the
Yeah,
other thing is like when you actually start to get the movements,
yeah,
it's freeing. It can be a little
yeah.
uncomfortable, it can be a little scary, but you're moving. There's nothing more
Yes.
painful than feeling no movement and you're stuck. And that's when it comes inward and we start beating ourselves up and we start feeling like a failure and we start to really miss out on all the juiciness. So when you talk about
Mhm.
reinvention, midlife, over 40, 50, it's like this is the most amazing time in our life. We know so much and our life is so precious and our time is precious. How are we going to live? And it's such a disservice to ourselves if we don't wake up because
Yes.
time will keep going forward and we will look back and go, if I only. So let's not do that. Let's just wake up now.
Exactly. You also talk about next level love. And what is it? How does one call it in? And why do people struggle with this?
Yeah.
With this concept of next level love and healthy relationships and all of that. Tell me
Yeah.
that.
Thank you
It's
for that
probably a big
question.
topic, but yeah.
It is, and let's dive in. So I left my marriage. He wasn't able to sit in the fire with me, and we're still friends. There's still a lot of love there, but it just wasn't for me. And I had done so much of the deep shadow work, and when I left, soon out the gate, which is not necessarily what I recommend, guideline, give yourself some time to heal. However, I had been doing so much deep work, and I met a man. And I was in the most magical, amazing 4.5 year relationship that I discovered what I call next level love, the ability to drop in and be authentic, be myself, be loved for who I am without walking on eggshells, to be able to just relax and go deeply with this human being. Our circumstances got in our way. Certainly, it wasn't our relationship or our love. We'll keep that simple.
Mhm.
That's when I discovered how we can have the extraordinary in partnership. And it's not necessarily about who you bring in, it's about who you connect to, which is yourself. And so, next level love starts with becoming your own soulmate. with really knowing who you are and how special you are, and that deep self-love and self-love in action, not just like, oh, I love myself and yes, I'm nice, and I look in the mirror and I go, yes, you're so wonderful, but to deeply in your bones know your value. And if ever anything crosses your mind that says you're anything other than that, that self-love in action goes, whoa, I don't talk to myself like that. Like, to be able to really drop in and feel that deep connection to your heart. And when you can be whole, and we are all whole, we are all whole. We just have these things that get in the way. But when we can tap into that richness of our wholeness, we have next level love with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we can call in juicy partnership, and we can just be ourselves and love it and not have to jump through hoops. We've all done it. It doesn't feel good, but we can consciously co-create a relationship with someone. That's next level love.
Mm. So I love what you said about becoming your own soulmate. I've never heard it described that way. And I think that's kind of really sums it up for me, is that if you are loving and your soul and your heart and everything, you're in connection with it all the time and you understand and love yourself, then it becomes, again, it's about that energy that's created, and you attract those people who see that, who feel that, right? If you're not connected to yourself, your inner self, and you're not loving your inner self, then it's really hard to connect and love others.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And when you are so in tune with your deep self-love, respect, honoring, trusting yourself, because at the end of the day, we have lost a lot of that. How many of us have lost the ability to really trust our gut or to really listen to our hearts? I mean, that's what we're bumping up against. When you can do that and you can really take good, precious care of your heart, guess what happens? You're not going to let a lot of the other stuff come even into your vortex. You're going to spot it so fast. If somebody says something or treats you in a way that is not in alignment with how you treat yourself, you're going to know instantly, that's not somebody that I want to be in relationship with or even talk to. I mean, so many people are like, oh, online dating sucks. And it's like, most people, when they work with me, people don't get even past those first few messages, let alone get on a phone call, let alone waste time on a date, because they're so in alignment that they can spot things and move faster and call in a very different type of person. So yeah, we need to fill up our own cup. We need to love our lives. And then it just, things shift outside of ourselves in ways that we can never imagine. But here's the thing, and this ties back into the shadow. So if we haven't shined a light on the 95% of all the beliefs and all that stuff, then we will have challenges with that self-love, that trust, that like deep understanding of our souls, of our yearning, of who we truly are. And so we must do that work. I mean, therapy's great. A lot of personal growth work out there is great. However, most of it is neck up. Let's just figure stuff out. Let's move forward. Let's make our lists of red flags, green flags, and learn how to do X, Y, and Z. Look in the mirror and go, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. Well, I'm sorry, that is just the tip of the iceberg. It's a dent into the healing journey. And that's what changed my life. And that's the transformation that happens with shadow work and the modalities that get beyond the conscious mind is transformation that sticks. And that's when your whole shift in your heart and your connection to your heart changes.
Interesting. So what, like, I don't know if you've talked about this, but what are some of these modalities that you use? Like, what do you use to shine that light, to eliminate those shadows?
Thank you. So I've been trained in one of the original personal growth models called shadow work. There are a lot of people saying they're doing shadow work, and most of them, I don't know percentage wise, but let's just say 99% of the people that are doing shadow work have not been trained in the body of shadow work that's trademarked where I'm licensed.
Yes.
Not to say that they're doing anything wrong or bad, it's just different. And so in this modality, which we had years of deep learning, how to create a safe container, because remember, if we feel danger, we're not opening. So how to create a safe place for us to look at what we want, what is not working, how we're feeling, how we're sabotaging, what is sideways and not aligned. And then with special processes, certain language, certain directions, we're able to pull back the curtains for people to take a stand against some of these beliefs and own their power inside their body. We're getting outside. We have to use our brain. We have to use our mind to look at things, but then we get into the body where all this stuff is stored. And we start to release it, and we get the power and the energy, the clarity, the confidence, the ability to move forward. And so there, like I said, there's different processes in the shadow work model. And yeah, there's just different ways, roads to Rome, depending on what somebody's suffering with.
Right. Wonderful. And I was just curious because so as a coach, I'm always curious to see what kind of tools we use. So one of the other big topics is the topic of self-sabotage, right? And what in your opinion does that really mean? And why do so many women especially suffer from this? And I guess that probably is one of the reasons that people are, maybe they can't get into healthy relationships, for example. So so the whole topic of self-sabotage is interesting to me.
Yeah. And some people may not even call it self-sabotage. They might just go, it's not working. I keep falling down the same rabbit hole. I don't understand. So wherever everybody is, at the end of the day, we get in our own way for a reason. And we don't necessarily know really why. We can kind of consciously, tip of the iceberg, go, well, the last relationship I was in really broke my heart. Of course, I'm a little scared to put myself back out there. So it kind of comes back to what I was saying originally, which is we've had all these experiences in our life where we've learned what relationship should look like, rom-com movies and seeing other people in different relationships. But mostly we have witnessed a lot of pain and a lot of drama. And we have learned on some level that relationships are not safe and they're dangerous and they're scary. So depending on what you learned as a child, witnessing your parents, how were they together? Were they loving and affectionate to each other? How did they treat each other? Did they stick around? Did they get divorced? How did it impact you? How did they treat you? So all of these types of relationships in our whole life, especially as a kid, we've been picking up all of this information, brain mapping, if you will, information, creating these neural pathways that say, okay, this is how it is. Let's avoid the danger. And that comes back to the risk manager again. So if you learn that relationships are, here's a great example. I'm going to give you a story. I had a client, a friend of mine, actually, for years. She had seen what I was doing, and beautiful, amazing, vibrant, healthy, successful woman, mid 50s, never had a long-term relationship. And she was giving up. And she was like, Junie, should I do your program? Because I got to tell you, and I was like, absolutely. Let's do some shadow work, because I have a year-long program and I work with people one-on-one too. But anyway, so she joins my year-long program because she really, really wanted a partner. However, she kept sabotaging. Well, she kept calling in the same guy, fixer-uppers. And then she would be resentful that she kept calling in the same guy that did not match her, did not meet her. And she didn't understand why she couldn't break that pattern, why she kept sabotaging the relationship, because she would call them in and then she would do things that would totally blow up the relationship. So we did this one process. I remember it like yesterday. We did this one process and she just zoomed back to her childhood. Now, not everybody remembers their childhood, no big deal, but she happened to remember this moment in her life where she saw her parents and took on the belief that love hurts. And that stayed in her. And if you could imagine in the back of your mind, if everything is saying love hurts, love hurts, love hurts, that risk manager is going to go, well, like, let's just avoid love. Let's not go there. Let's do whatever we can. Let's just keep bringing in guys that are not a good fit for you. And let's just keep blowing it up. How perfect. You're safe. So she realized that was what she witnessed and took on. Then she did this process, was able through the process to detach, to shift, to let go of that old story that was not hers. And she learned more about what she wanted, was able to claim it, Within a couple of weeks, she was at a party and she saw someone she'd known for years, but never saw him as relationship material. Same for him. Didn't see her in that way either, but something had shifted in her. Within a couple of weeks, they dated. Within a handful of months, she had a promise ring on her finger. A couple of years later, they were married. They've been
Oh,
married
wow.
for years. In fact, I'm actually seeing her this weekend. I haven't seen her in years. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in your area. So she didn't see why she was
Yeah.
sabotaging, but in the background, in the brain mapping, in the risk manager realm, that part was going, no friggin' way am I letting you go into a relationship because it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the opportunity here. So why do we sabotage? It's really simple. We're avoiding pain.
Yes. Great example. I mean, that really puts it into perspective and understanding. And a lot of it is, like you said before, is about the assumptions that we have also. Like, oh, my relationship, I can't, didn't, it failed last time, so it's going to fail again, or I'm not. And the thing is, what it also is, but you have to see that you're not the same person that you were last time.
Boom. Yes.
When you change, like you offer this change, or you help this your client change the way she did, she wasn't the same person. So you
Exactly.
can have that same assumption. So therefore, that person was attracted. Again, it's the attraction piece.
Exactly. It was a
Attraction.
total upgrade,
Yes.
upgrade
Yes.
in her mind, upgrade in how she held herself energetically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a total upgrade.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's really great. And so I guess the struggle is that how do we, women who like, I guess they're struggling against that. They're struggling against these old narratives.
Yeah,
They're keeping the narratives alive. Is that,
yeah,
that's the struggle, right? Yeah.
it is. And we're kind of like computers. So like we
Yeah.
are wired. We have these beliefs, we have neural pathways in our brain. We tend to think the same thoughts that we thought yesterday and the day before and the day before. So
Hmm.
until we throw a new rock in that pond, we are going to be the same person. And
Hmm.
so if somebody's struggling with whatever it is they're struggling, they must be willing to change. They
Hmm.
must be, and our nervous system, our risk manager is like, change, we don't know what's on the other side of change. Well, I can promise you that it's a heck of a lot better than where you are if you don't know what's on the other side. It's like, people say, "Oh, it sounds so scary. I don't know what's going to happen," I've been hurt so much, and I'm like, again, baby steps. Let's just remember you are different. Exactly like you said, we're not 5 or 10 or 20 or 30. We are women that have learned. We have tools that we didn't have before. We have visions and dreams. The thing is, we are bumping up against all the programming. And
Yes.
so, with good facilitation and support and taking time, we can change. And that's why I created my quiz. I think I told you about my quiz. If I didn't, I'll make sure I give you the link that I created What's Your Love Avatar quiz. And it talks about where are you in the relationship readiness? And it's a quick, fun quiz where you discover your superpower, your love avatar superpower. What are you bringing to the table? What is your light, your shine, your gifts? And what are your shadows? What are some of the things that are getting in your way? What are your blind spots? They get a full report. I'm happy to give a link to, your
Sure.
followers to be able to really get moving in starting to shine a light on the why you are the way you are. Because that's the first step. Let's be aware and then
Yes.
we can move forward.
Sounds like wonderful quiz. Yeah, absolutely. Like we'll definitely share that in the show notes, and we'll encourage the listeners to download it and learn from it. And I guess maybe we could just end off with one of you had talked a little bit earlier about midlife and the opportunity that midlife especially provides. And maybe you could just end off with a piece of advice for women who are listening, or maybe they're going through a transition, whether in their career, for example, or maybe in relationships, they've just had a divorce, or they're looking like you're looking for a new relationship. And what would you advise them like to live? Biggest piece of advice to live their next stage of life to the fullest. Like what can they do?
Yeah, that's such a powerful question. If there's one thing I hope people got from our conversation today is where it's not our fault that we struggle. We're wired that way. We were born into these bodies with survival instincts of many, many, many moons of being on this planet, humans existing. So we're bumping up against I need to survive survival instincts. And then we have all these experiences that shape us. And so if there's one thing is just be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself. If you saw a little kid running down the street or whatever on the sidewalk and they fell and they scraped their knee and they started crying, would you yell at them? It's like, no, you would want to like, hey, honey, let me take care of you. Let's clean that up. Come on. It's like, can we have some compassion for our human journey and allow ourselves to be more kind to ourselves? I hope, like, my book is, well, my movie is Shed the Shame. My book is Shed the Shame and Live Life Out Loud. That's the tagline. It's called Loving the Whole Package, loving all of who you are, but shed the shame, meaning, well, let it go. Just know that you did the best you could. That part inside of you that's been watching out for you and making sure that you don't fall and scrape your knee, that part's just been doing the best it could with the information it had. So now in this beautiful time of what's next for you and how you want it to be, take a breath. Be kind, create some sacred time for yourself. You don't have to go and live on a mountaintop for 5 years to get to nirvana. Carve some time each day just to sit with your heart, do some journaling. And I always encourage people to get support, a shadow worker, somebody that's getting beyond the conscious mind, or anything to help you have a mirror to yourself with kindness and gentleness so you really can shift. I didn't do it myself. I had an amazing mentor. I've had many mentors, but I had a very specific mentor that helped me see more clearly to be kind. And that kindness melts fear. Love melts fear. So just love yourself the best you can.
Wow. That just gave me the shivers. Thank you for that.
Aw.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, Junie, tell us, you're obviously so very passionate about what you do, and it shows, and I love the conversation. How can people find you, hear more about what you do, read your book, watch a movie, all of that good stuff?
Yeah. Well, the easiest thing to do is write this down. Midlife Love Out Loud. That's the name for everything. It's the name of my website.com. It's the name of my Instagram as well as my YouTube channel. And if you go to my website, you can find my book. It's on Amazon. However, everything is on my website. So midlifeloveoutloud.com, you can find a lot of different things. My channel, the YouTube channel, is not only me, but I have amazing guests, soon to have you, where we talk about some really important things around what it means to have a full second half of life, because it's body, mind, and spirit. So yeah, that's what I would say is just look up Midlife Love Out Loud and grab the quiz if you're looking for love in your life and you want to have a deeper relationship with yourself and healthier relationships with all, and just keep going. Just keep going.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I really appreciate all your wisdom and your passion for what you do. And thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me. This was a wonderful conversation.
Take care. I trust you enjoyed my conversation with Junie Moon, and it helped you understand why it is so important to love yourself first, especially as you may be going through career and life transitions. When we have next level love and become our own soulmates first, it will allow you to attract healthy and fulfilling relationships also. Here are her key takeaways. Number 1, it is so important to love yourself without apology. By confronting your shadows, those disowned parts of yourself, you can heal, gain confidence, and live authentically. Number 2, true love or next level love starts by becoming your own soulmate. When you fully connect with and love yourself, you naturally attract healthy and loving relationships that honor your true self. And number 3, reinvention can occur multiple times in life. Each pivotal moment can serve as a wake-up call if we ask ourselves, what do I want to create my life now? If you need help answering that question, start by taking my short career and life fulfillment quiz. It takes less than a minute to complete, but will follow with a score on how fulfilled you really are right now. After that, you will receive practical tools to uncover what you can do about it. My door is always open should you wish to have a conversation with me about what you may be stuck with or what your options really are. You can reach out to me at Kavita at itsmytimenowcoaching.com. That's Kavita, Kavita, at itsmytimenowcoaching.com. And we can have a powerful, complimentary breakthrough conversation where we will discuss just that. And I can give you my support for my own experience and training. So don't hesitate to live your life to the fullest, my friend. Remember, if not now, when? Till next time, stay well and love yourself fully.